you try to get into the mall, you pass through the metal detector system, right? Again, the primary purpose it's there is security, of course, but again, that has an infrared sensor which counts. So, fine, out of 200 cars, 18, 100 people actually, walked out of the cars and so on. So you have more accurate data related to how many actual consumers, right, are walking through the door, the number of people who are going to eat pizzas or whatever, right? Then within the mall, now you go to a store, again for security reasons, probably to prevent theft and so on, cameras are deployed everywhere, right? But the same cameras now count to store level traffic. It tells you using thermal cameras that, that most retailers are using even in India, right? You count traffic to different zones of the store, right? Some stores offer free, entice users with free Wi-Fi's and stuff like that, right? Again, that tells you exactly how long are these users, so using a camera or a IR sensor or something, you counted people coming into the store, but the Wi-Fi signals will exactly tell you how long did they spend in the store, right? And if you have these access points, right, a lot of places you go to mall, you see those small, phone boosters, right, signal boosters available. Again, the primary reason those things are put is because the store wants to give better mobile coverage to your thing. But that's not all. The data from there is being used to go, get back into the operations and, trying to improve. So they know exactly which part of the store or the mall are you, ending up at, and, how much time are you spending there, right? Some retailers, especially in the groceries and, the large format ones, where the store sizes are huge and so on, are using smart cards. Now the smart cards, as you walk along the mall and, pass through, right, they exactly track the path that you're taking. So at some level, retailers, advanced retailers, in Western markets today are already doing that. In India also, some customers like Big Bazaar and all are doing trials with smart cards. So they try to track the path user comes in and goes. So you optimize your planogram better. You can put your high margin or high value products there, right, along the customer path, right, to beacons. So within a store, let's say you go around the store, passing through aisle, right? Now, which aisle are you interacting with? There's something, while passing through an aisle, right? There are two rows of gondolas on the left and right? So which one are you specifically interacting with? So using Apple iBeacons and, bunch of other beacon technologies, right? Those things are being sent. So, and finally, of course, you have the Microsoft Kinect kind of technology where even within a gondola, let's say, retailer wants to know what's the ideal placement for soft drink and compared to diapers, right? Which should be up and down. So using the gesture recognition technology and, sensors related to that, they do track and do that, right? Just give me a second. Right. So while all this is there, right, so I'll give you 3-4 slides of case studies of specific retailers here in India, how they're doing it. Often repeated mantra in retail is location, location, location. Depending on where you are, it's a make or break. If you open a, a Swarovski showroom in X place, it will do well. Y place, it will just tank, kind of a thing, right? So the question that, a particular retailer, customer of ours, right, apparel stores, they said, we want to open, they're all over the country, already have 500 stores and so on, right? They want to open that next store. What is a good location to open the store? Simple question, right? So, for example, Connaught Place, take a place like Connaught Place, right? We all know the geography there. There are 3 circles, inner, outer, and middle circle, right? And then bunch of these alleys. And roughly, Connaught Place is also a crowded place. So, a lot of traffic is already there. But within these islands, a lot of real estate is available. Some expensive, some cheap, and so on. How do you decide which will give you the best ROI, right? So, what this customer, apparel, brand in India, right? What they did is they used, Wi-Fi sensors, right? Which accurately, so they had this field executives walk around whole of Connaught Place for a day, right? Picking up Wi-Fi signals here and there, and depending on, at the end of it, they had a cloud of, traffic, including the balance. And incidentally, at Connaught Place, they already had a store, right? They had one store, they wanted to open a second store, thinking that it's a large enough market, right? So because these Wi-Fi signals are now unique, they are like a fingerprint of your device, right? They could also figure out, their objective was to find out a location where you had maximum exclusive, non-exclusive traffic. So people who are coming to your existing store, if the same people are also going to some other place, you don't want to be in that place, because your brand is already addressed those users. You want to attract newer customers. So using the signals, they find out that, okay, the traffic in X lane of Connaught Place, right, is more unique. You aren't seeing the same customers in your current store, so that's probably a better rate, even better place to open the store, even if it's a little expensive. Likewise, another customer of ours, right, now they have stores across malls, right. So in Bangalore, for example, they were at Forum Mall in Koramangala, at Orion Brigade Mall in Rajaji Nagar, and so on, right. So they continuously, the point of sale system, the data was telling them that they've done some demographic tests and so on. They're roughly seeing similar sales per day across both stores, right. 40,000, 50,000, whatever, right. So the assumption management also had is, fine, demography is roughly the same, the traffic is roughly same, right. But by employing this signal measurement techniques or some sensors, right, they actually figured out that outside their store, the number of people who just pass through their store without entering the store, or without spending much time in the store, was much higher at one of the malls, right. So which clearly indicates a staff training, issue, because the merchandise is the same, the demography is more or less the same, right. So when they retrain their staff, go back with data and back it up, right, they immediately see a 5-10% jump in sales getting reflected at the point of sale, which is what I meant, that a point of sale is the effect. That's what you're trying to create, but you're seeing what other variables can you change elsewhere to maximize the opportunity you have, right. Fine. So based on the location, you opened a store, right. Then comes the business hours. So again, based on empirical rules, a lot of retail works. You see typically a market, right, opens at the same time of the day, ends. Most shops are, it's empirical, not much of it is scientific, right. But that is changing again, right. Again, another accessory brand customer, right, what they figured out that, they would run from 9 in the morning to 9 in the night, and have staff working in 2 shifts. The manager typically would be present in the second half of the day, so that prime time is what they were optimized for, right. Prime time being the evening 6, 7 kind of thing. And point of sale was also saying that that's true. A lot of sales transactions were happening during those hours, right. But using these extra sensors that they deployed, right, they figured out that on certain days of the week, there's a lot of bounce rate. Bounce rate we define as people who just get into the store within a minute or two, 5 minutes, just get out of the store because they're not buying anything. They weren't even window shoppers, they just exit the store, right. So on certain days of the week, Mondays, Wednesdays, the bounce rate was very high between 1 to 2 in the afternoon, right. Now, the thing is, 2 to 3 is when the staff, shift happens. So probably the store staff was getting ready to hand over, doing stuff. The manager wasn't yet in, right. So once they figure out this is what is happening, you go back and change your operations. On those days, the manager is present in the first half of the day rather than the second half. And then immediately they're seeing, higher conversion rates, less of bounce rate, and so on. Right. And again, an interesting case with a small cycle local marathon that happened in Powai in Mumbai, right. Now, a small mom and pop coffee shop kind of a thing. They open at 8:30 in the morning, and serve breakfast coffee to people, and business would work. And they were using some sensor technology that we provide to them, right. So one day, when they were not expecting, the owner lady, tend to open the email in the morning, and checking through the stuff that's live dashboard or whatever, right. Suddenly see a lot, on a weekday, right, or Saturday morning at 5:30 in the morning, 6 in the morning, you don't expect anybody, it's a ghost town, right. But on that day, the traffic outside the store, right, was running into thousands, right. So you sense something is happening, immediately make inquiries, probably walk down and check the store. Apparently, some local group had organized a cycle marathon kind of thing. A lot of crowd gathered there and cheerleading happening, and so on. A very simple case. So what do? You say that day, instead of opening at 8 in the morning, because it's a small operation, you just say let's open at 7 in the morning, right, which leads to extra sales. So that's a simple example. This is the example going back to how your Tim of who sells baits and so on, right? Operation is also getting changed due to data coming back and feeding into the system, right? Uh, yeah. Windows, right? Again, this is a crucial. I mean, the amount of investment that goes into decking up the Windows, it's huge. A lot of visual merchandising teams and so on, right? So far, with online retail coming in, right? Some of the techniques which Google Analytics and bunch of those things allow you to do, right? Are things like A/B testing. You really don't know what's going to work. You test scenarios and you say this works, this doesn't work based on the data that. So with sensors coming in, right, now offline retailers are also able to do a lot of A/B testing on their windows. So for example, you try out uh, red theme and orange theme, for example, right, and you immediately measure the impact on both scenarios. One, how if the number of people passing by your store more or less is the same, it's not changing in both scenarios, right? But how is the window able to convert them and make them an inside store user, right? And the rate really changes in real time. So you see that, okay, with my yellow theme that I tried out yesterday, or Diwali theme or whatever, right, I was seeing 4% conversion, but once I changed it to this, the conversion dropped or increased, and immediately you change that. So retailers in across malls in India, a bunch of them are now using this. To the other scenarios, how often should you change, right? So if you continuously change your thing, right, every 3 hours, for example, you could change your window. So that way a lot of your themes are getting missed. They are not getting the audience that you deserve. So you scientifically measure using your Wi-Fi signals or whatever, right? I figure out that on an average, consumers are visiting or passing by your store once every 6 days, right? Some number, right? So that then becomes your ideal time to refresh your window, so that every theme that you put up at least gets one visibility, and you have a better chance of going back, right? Okay. Then heat maps. Heat maps, again, I won't get into the technology of how they are getting generated, but assuming that this is for a store here, lifestyle, right? They measure traffic across a week, right? And this is the heat map that they figured. So the spots in red is where more people are spending more time. So it's a heat map based on the dwell time of consumers. So that's why people are going and spending time in the store, right? Whereas the spots in blue are the low traffic areas, the ones in green are somewhere in between green and yellow, right? So let's say some part here, right? I might switch it off actually, so let me not touch this. Okay, the part in red, right, could be, sometimes it's entertainment area, sometimes it's washroom, sometimes it could be anything, right? So if you have high margin products, right, which necessarily, or the parts in red really could be the fast moving products. A lot of people are coming and buying those, right, but they are not necessarily your high margin or high profit products, right? So along the path, if you place your high margin products, right, they get visibility. At least you are ensuring that they have the right eyeballs and people end up. Of course, if your high margin products are somewhere in the blue zone there, dark blue zone, that means drastically wrong, right? People are not going, they're not noticing it, they're never going to buy it. So you move around based on data that comes from the heat maps, right, and change your store layout accordingly, right? So this is about the stores per se. Then of course comes the human angle, the staff itself, right? A standard scenario, whether you do a small store, whatever, right? So you do a lakh a day, you think is good, right? Someday you do 30,000, you call up the store staff, because you could be from the revenue maximization team, but you're based somewhere in headquarters, Bangalore, Delhi, wherever, right? And you call up the store in Pune and say, why yesterday this happened? They say, sir, traffic nahi aaya, main kya karu, right? So that's the standard angle that you get, right? But with these better measurements, so instead of measuring based on the point of sale data, right? Now retailers in their they change their HR processes and using other metrics to maximize, or to do a more justified way of performance appraisals. For example, you define a metric called into invoice conversion. The number of people who coming into the store, which are leading to invoicing, actual billing that's happening, right? So based on that number, which now is getting reflected, and the both the store staff as well as the management gets to see this number in addition to the, how many, because there could be days where only one person came into the store, or multiple people came, only one person bought something, but that person bought worth a lakh of rupees, right? Point of sale would say it's a good day, right? But there could be other underlying problems related to staff or whatever, right, serving, which get highlighted using these other metrics, right? So of course it also leads to, once you publish it across your 20, 50, whatever number of stores that you are, it also leads to healthy competition among the staff themselves. They want to be at the top. For example, the dwell time, right? How much time people spend in the store, it's a metric which is mainly controlled by the staff, how well they engage, how well they, how friendly they are, and so on, right? So that's happening. Then I think the word omni-channel got mentioned a couple of times since morning, right? So retailers are beginning to use that in big way now. For example, retargeting is a concept well understood on online, right? You go on Clear Trip or someplace and search for a Bangalore Mumbai flight, and then you go to Farmville and playing the game, and next to that you see a Bangalore Delhi flight kind of a thing, right? That's retargeting essentially, right? Now online to offline retargeting is also possible and happening. So the retailers, I'll give you an example again. A particular customer was running an online campaign saying, come and upload your selfie to get promotions, kind of a thing, right? And of course, all the terms and everything is given, right? So people are encouraged to share their selfies, and when they share the selfie, you in a way are giving away your facial features, right? The store in a way knows you by face, right? And at the point of sale now, they've installed cameras which optimize on the same feature. So they check your face and see that you are the same person who's uploaded the selfie, so you get a instant promotion kind of thing. This is happening at a retailer in Mumbai. They're doing it. It's a fashion-based retailer, right? Two other ways of online offline retargeting, right? So people who been to your store a few number of times, nothing related to them, on their point of sale, you haven't seen them doing any transaction. But if they're coming to, let's say, a Decathlon store and spending time in the cycling section, they are somehow interested in buying a cycle, right? Is what you figure, right? So now when the users going back reading Times of India, if a relevant Decathlon related promotion shows up, the propensity to click and transact is much higher. So that kind of a thing. Decathlon in fact is the brand which has done that with us, right? Yeah, this is the minor one. Of course, for some products, this is not relevant for all customers or all retailers, but a specific case study of, because you can now detect what sort of phones are people carrying based on their signals and so on, right? You know the demography better, right? So which could lead to product optimization in some case. So a customer of ours dealing into mobile accessories and so on, they figure that for their stores, right, they used to keep mobile phone covers. That's one of their SKUs, right? And because it's easy, or because they were seeing a lot of demand for that, they would see that mostly Apple covers were selling or whatever, right? But with additional information popping onto their screens now, they know that okay, this significant bunch of Micromax screens which are coming in, so they should keep it. Anyway, I think that's very specific. It's not globally applicable. But yeah, when we tried the same experiment in San Francisco, by the way, right, survey. So the kind of devices that were showing up, right, apart from the Apples and Micromaxes, we could see a few, Parrot flying drones and some Wi-Fi enabled Ford cars and Wi-Fi enabled hard disk devices and so on. So you get more insights into your demography and so on, right? Moving on, last couple slides, right? While a bunch of previous slides, discussion was about how retailers are themselves, using this information to do that. This one specifically talks about how it impacts, or the consumer seeing behavior, how the consumer sees any change in the shopping experience, or overall customer satisfaction thing, right? So for example, take this case of all stores have offers running here and there, right? Deal of the days and so on, right? Instead of mass marketing it to all the people, this enables you to do geo marketing. It only sends the deal of the day offer to Miss Nita when she is around your store, because the sensor has already detected you, right? To a scenario where you see that the Miss Nita came into the store, spent a while and walked away, right? So you haven't shared any deal with the customer yet, but now that you know that the users kind of bounced back today, no transaction happened, user hasn't bought anything and probably gone back to the mall or to the parking lot, right? If that instance, this gives you, retailers are using this to provide an additional incentive to come back. So it says that usually if you shop for 100 rupees, right, you get one bonus point or whatever loyalty point. Today only for you, if you shop at us, we'll give you double the points, kind of a thing, right?